At the top is a CEO, yet her heart is empty. As Hannah leaves everything behind and heads toward Whitley Town, her motorcycle suddenly breaks down. Seeking help, she enters an old repair shop and meets Elon, a resident of the town. She had been lost for a few days, but what she might find here could change everything. Does the town really offer peace, or is it a search for something new? A motorcycle, a town, and a man. This journey Hannah embarks on to find the life she's lost will lead her to an unexpected end. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm always here with new and inspiring stories. Also, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Hannah was a CEO who had conquered the world. Every step she took was filled with the confidence of a leader who echoed near the top. In a world where money and power reigned and luxury cars, traders and investors filled the spaces between towering buildings, she was the brightest star. In an environment where everyone was supposed to keep their feet on the ground, Hannah had reached the top, in a position where she could snap her fingers and control everything. But had she ever thought that every victory leaves behind a void? The wealth of all her successes couldn't fill the emptiness inside her. She was so high up that, as the world shrank below like a cloud, she couldn't find peace. Looking at the sky, the boxes that connected people and their bright fake dreams, she didn't even know what she was searching for. The endless void inside her kept growing with each passing day. One morning when she woke up, she felt something. Even if just for a moment, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She thought everything was right, but something was missing. She felt crushed under the weight of always having to be perfect. She needed to take a step back. That morning, that void forced her to make a decision. She just needed an escape. But where would this escape take her? One morning, those thoughts became clearer and Whitley Town came to her mind. A small, peaceful town away from the world. She didn't know anyone there and no one knew her. No one would remind her how successful she was, no one would tell her what she should do. She could just disappear into the silence. Maybe here she could find direction again by making her own decisions. The town seemed like the perfect place for a soul in search of peace. The world she had left behind a while ago faded like a dream in her mind. Before starting her journey, she packed a backpack. She quickly put in a few different clothes, a few books, and a notebook. She thought the only thing she really needed was some timelessness. A few days away from stress, exhaustion, and the high standards everyone expected of her. Yes, it seemed like a really good idea. Without telling anyone, she needed a conscious disappearance, an exploration. The town was nearby, just a few hours away by motorcycle. As she threw the bag over her shoulder for the first time in a long while, she felt a bit relieved. She really needed something. This decision might just be one of the best she'd ever made. She started the engine of her motorcycle and headed toward the town. As she drove toward the end of the road, she felt like she wasn't going to turn back to the city. The idea of simply searching for peace and disappearing into silence was intoxicating her. As Hannah was getting close to the town, her search for peace was temporarily disrupted. Suddenly, her motorcycle started making a strange noise, almost as if something was wrong. She tried to accelerate by twisting the throttle a few times, but the engine just wouldn't start. At first, she didn't care, thinking maybe something had just loosened. But then, the engine suddenly stopped completely, and no matter what she did, not a single whistle came out. Just silence. She was left stranded alone in the heart of the town. Great, she muttered to herself. The last thing she needed was a breakdown that stopped her journey at a time like this. But what could she do here outside the town all alone? She only had one option: ask for help. She looked around, and in this small town, reaching someone seemed almost impossible. But at that moment, her eyes caught the faded sign of the town's old repair shop. How old is this place? She thought to herself. The town carried the weight of many years, but with the exhaustion from being on the road for so long, having a place like this at all seemed like a stroke of luck. Maybe it would change something, maybe it would be a place to help her, even if just for a short time. With no other options, Hannah started walking, unsure of what to do. Slowly, she took her steps toward the repair shop. With every step, the uncertainty inside her grew a little more. She gently opened the door and took one more step toward the shop that might change her fate. Elon was the town's oldest mechanic. The weariness of the years felt like an ever-increasing weight on his shoulders. His hair had slowly grayed, and his wrinkled face carried the marks of time, yet in his eyes, a spark of hope from the past still glimmered. The fast-paced life in the city, those days filled with ambition and financial struggles, had eventually dragged him here, to this small town. Here, no one reminded him of what it meant to be successful, to move quickly, or to earn money. He had settled here in search of another life, another world. Yet he still had dreams that were slowly fading inside him. The grand plans he once had were like shadows, drifting in his mind. That day, like any other, he was finishing up his work. The townspeople usually brought their old cars to him, and he would spend the night with sputtering engines and broken parts. The town was small and things didn't move fast. Still, with each passing day, he searched for an opportunity that would reignite his dreams. At that moment, a voice broke the somber atmosphere. "Hello? Is anyone there?" The voice was a woman's. Elon had finished his work and sent his apprentice home. At that moment he was alone in the shop. He stood up and, looking carefully toward the source of the voice, headed toward the garage door. A stranger, someone new to the town. The coldness in the air, the sense of loneliness on the town's roads, had created a sense of unease in this woman. But Elon had always been used to accepting strangers. Everyone in this town had a story, and perhaps the story of this newcomer would mark the beginning of a path that would show him the way to rediscover his life. He opened the door and saw Hannah. For a moment, the sad expression in her eyes reminded him of the lost dreams from his earlier years. "Welcome," Elon said, his voice soft but firm. "What do you need?" As Hannah stepped toward Elon, there was a tired expression on her face. She tried to explain the issue with her motorcycle, but the words seemed to get lost in the chaos that was giving her a headache. Only a few words, a little flustered and indecisive, slipped out of her lips. Elon nodded thoughtfully as he listened carefully. "I can fix your motorcycle in a minute," he said, then paused and added, "I'll go get it." Hannah relaxed at his calm and decisive demeanor. Elon noticed that she was a stranger. "You're a foreigner, it seems. Are you moving here or just passing through?" he asked. Hannah paused for a moment, then responded, "I've come here. But not to see anyone. I'm just looking for some peace." Elon smiled when he heard this, a mark of the wisdom built up over the years on his face. "You've come to the right place," he said. "Let's take a look at your little misfortune." He then left the shop and headed out to get her motorcycle. As Hannah looked around, the inside of the repair shop offered the scent of an old world. The oil stains and rust-covered floors, the metallic smell floating in the air, and old cars and motorcycles carefully positioned in every corner, it felt like traces of the past, a place where time had stopped and everything reminded her of something. But then her eyes caught the photographs hanging on the wall. The photos were like windows into Elon's life. Poses taken while playing guitar in a busy bar, working at a computer in a white shirt in an office, camping, fishing, climbing mountains, and making coffee in a cafe with professional equipment. Each one reflected a different moment of Elon's life. These photos, showing the traces of an adventurer's life, left Hannah with a question. "Adventure," she thought. "I've met an adventurer." Just then Elon returned, pushing the motorcycle back. He slowly entered the door, pulling the bike toward the shop with steady steps. As Hannah watched Elon, she felt that she was in the right place in her life. This small town might just be the peaceful place, hidden behind all the noise and chaos of the city, where she needed to find what she was looking for. After carefully inspecting the motorcycle, Elon realized that the problem was much more serious than he had initially thought. What seemed like a simple issue turned out to be a complicated matter. Hannah's motorcycle was a model that could be considered luxurious, and Elon wasn't very familiar with such high-end bikes. Slowly, he slipped his hands into the pockets of his jacket and turned to Hannah. "It's going to take me a little while," he said, his voice a bit more serious but still calm. "You can spend the night here. I've already finished my work and it's getting dark." Hannah paused for a moment but made her decision quickly. There was a deep sense of peace within her, and without hesitation she agreed. "Thank you," she said, gratitude shining in her eyes. Spending the night with a stranger in an old repair shop loft didn't feel strange to her. On the contrary, being here made her feel more at ease. Away from the chaos and busyness of the city, this small town and Elon's tranquility were filling the emptiness growing inside her. Everything was so different. In the city, time passed in a whirlwind of activity, everything blurred together and sounds competed with each other. But here there was silence, peace, and time flowed slowly. In Elon's repair shop, despite the cold air, there was a sense of warmth, a feeling of safety. With every step, Hannah began to settle into this peace. No one was telling her what to do, no one was teaching her how to stay this calm. But here, in this simple town, everything was in its place. After thoroughly inspecting the bike, Elon returned to his small, warm repair shop at the corner of the town as night began to fall and continued to wrap things up. Hannah kept glancing at the photos inside. She noticed that each one reflected a different part of Elon's life and dreams. In that moment, as she moved deeper into the town's darkness, she began to sense the start of her own inner journey. The night had thickened with the metallic scent of the old repair shop. As Elon worked on the motorcycle, the sounds coming from the vehicle and the occasional squeaks filled the air, and the two of them began to talk. The silence between them had deepened so much that each word seemed to echo, spreading through the space. Elon paused for a moment, placing the wrench on the ground before turning to face Hannah. In his eyes, there was the wisdom that came with years but also a deep weariness. "Life here in the town isn't like out there," he said, his voice slowing down a little. "People live slowly, but it's more real, more peaceful." Hannah listened carefully, then paused for a moment. A question came to her mind, perhaps because the curiosity inside her had been building up. "You look so different in the photos," she asked, her eyes studying him a little more closely. "You seem so calm and peaceful, but it's like you're a different person." Elon immediately smiled with a touch of humor. "So, am I uglier?" he asked, a teasing grin forming on his face. Hannah couldn't hold back her laughter and smiled. "No. It's like you've lived thousands of lives," she said, her eyes once again wandering into Elon's. Elon took a deep breath and remained silent for a moment. Then finally, with a smile and a nod, he answered, "Why should a life only live one life?" He paused and added, "Right now I'm a mechanic, but I've actually been many things. Everything is a journey, a transformation." Hannah felt herself being drawn deeper into a world with each of Elon's words. His words felt like both a stranger's and a friend's to her. He was not just a mechanic, he was much more. The sense of freedom within him was slowly beginning to pass on to her as well. This town, this old repair shop, the moments Elon shared with his life. They all told her something different. Elon, in a sense, was freedom. He was not just a man, but everything around him, everything he touched, radiated freedom. And Hannah was being drawn to him, stepping forward, standing on the threshold of beginning a new discovery and transformation within herself. Hannah listened carefully to Elon's words. Every word seemed to echo in her inner world. After the fast-paced life of the city, where every day felt like a race, she began to realize how empty and superficial everything had been. All those years of success, money, and competition. It all seemed so meaningless. She had been searching for meaning, but she could never quite find it. Now, sitting beside Elon, everything seemed to become clearer, and the depths of life looked more meaningful. Here, in the town, in this old repair shop, she had a chance to rediscover the lost piece inside her. Throughout the night, they talked at length about Elon's calm demeanor and how the town came alive at night. As Elon spoke about how the town experienced the night, Hannah put aside all her thoughts and listened. In a world where everything flowed slowly and naturally, where every sound faded gently, she became captivated by the magic of town life. There was so much she had never noticed in the city, things she had overlooked. She thought about how valuable a simple life was, just breathing, accepting life as it was, and finding peace within. Suddenly, the rush of her life and the emptiness she had felt afterward began to be replaced by the calm of town life. The town was starting to transform her, not just from the outside but also spiritually. Hannah noticed her growing interest in Elon. He wasn't just offering her the calm of the town. He was giving her the chance to dive deep into her own inner journey. Every word, every gesture of his seemed to resonate with her soul. She was finding something that had been lost inside her, maybe something she had been chasing for years but had never quite grasped. As Elon spoke about how calm the town was, he was also teaching her that life itself needed to slow down. In this repair shop on this night, something was changing. Hannah saw this night, the town, and Elon as an opportunity to dive deep into the depths of her own soul. In the morning, when the motorcycle was repaired and ready, Elon carefully looked at Hannah's tired eyes. Her eyes were still weary, but there was also a sense that something was beginning to change inside her. Elon smiled and spoke gently, "You wouldn't want to miss a day in this town. I think a little fatigue won't hurt. Would you like to see the town?" Hannah paused for a moment. She was tired, but something inside her, perhaps the peace this town offered, was calling her to take another step. She nodded. That was her way of saying yes. She wanted to fill the emptiness inside her just a little more, to discover the secrets of the town. Elon and Hannah set off to explore every corner of the town. Elon shared stories about the town's hidden village paths, the abandoned mining areas, and the loving lives of the townspeople. With every step, they ventured deeper into the town, each new place offering a different story. Everything Elon described allowed her to get to know the town's past, its people, and its nature more closely. On one side, Elon's repair shop, and on the other, the town square. Each corner felt like a discovery. With every step, Hannah felt like she was finding herself just a little more. Although the town appeared simple from the outside, every corner held deep meanings. Unlike the big cities where one could easily feel lost, here, everything felt natural and real. The warmth of the townspeople carried the traces of a simple, genuine life. For Elon, money and power meant nothing. Freedom was everything. He had no goal or limit in life. He could always be anything. He had learned to embrace the pace of life, savoring every moment, and despite all the burdens, he had somehow found a way to navigate the system. He had discovered the power of living slowly, of losing himself in the present moment. Elon's life showed him what it truly meant to be free in this world. With every step, every choice, there was an inner peace. Hannah, on the other hand, was wealthy. Success, money, big business deals, climbing to the top. These were the things that held meaning in her world. However, that one day spent with Elon had made her question things. It was so full of meaning, and as she remembered this day, reflecting on the productive meetings and countless business deals she had in her corporate life, she felt a deep emptiness compared to the inner fulfillment she had experienced from such a simple life. She thought, what was the meaning of her wealth? What did it really mean? Wealth, climbing to the top, all those lost relationships, the constant worries. And yet, how easy it was. Behind everything there was simple peace. Living was about accepting life as it was. Living was about being like Elon, making every moment precious. In that moment, Hannah felt a painful realization. She had fought so hard but had never truly lived. As Hannah lost herself in these thoughts, Elon spoke about his past music career, funny memories and events from his life. His stories were like little moments, marks of his life. As he spoke, there was an inner happiness in every word, a man who had learned to enjoy life. His laughter was genuine, his storytelling warm and cheerful. As Hannah listened to Elon, she suddenly felt the emptiness inside her disappear, and she realized how deep and meaningful life could be. With Elon, she began to understand how important it was to be aware of the present moment. There was something in his eyes, a kind of inner peace. Being with him, looking at him, was like seeing the world through someone else's eyes, experiencing life anew. With Elon, she felt alive, truly living. This was a feeling she had never experienced before. That night, as they silently watched the stars together, Elon suddenly spoke. Sometimes the greatest freedom is in stopping the chase, he said. As Hannah heard those words, something clicked into place in her heart. No matter how successful she had been in the city, she had felt lost in emptiness. Elon's calmness had reminded her of the true meaning of life. Now here in the town, the time spent with Elon felt like the beginning of something new for Hannah. She realized that life held meanings far deeper than success and gain. The peace in Elon's simplicity felt like a form of freedom, a kind of salvation. Hannah had settled into a guest house and slept deeply. She hadn't slept this soundly in years. In that moment, every ounce of her fatigue seemed to disappear. She had surrendered to the silence of the town, letting go completely. As she waited for Elon in front of the guest house the next morning, the peace within her had deepened even more. Elon was waiting for her, smiling and inviting her to breakfast. As they shared breakfast in the town's small cafe, Hannah was having a wonderful time. Her eyes no longer had that old sparkle, but there was a different kind of light in them. The emptiness inside her had shrunk, almost vanished, since the moment she had stepped into Elon's world. But soon she faced the reality of Elon's life. Elon had embraced this peaceful town life, but he was actually alone. Suddenly, the loneliness in Elon's eyes affected her deeply. His peace was a peace born from a kind of inner solitude. When Hannah learned that Elon was alone in this life, complex emotions stirred within her. Elon's peace might have been an escape from needing someone else. Still, this peace had inspired Hannah to rediscover life. Elon's loneliness perhaps didn't stop him from being truly free, but for Hannah, it raised a question. Does freedom come with loneliness? Hannah, for a moment, realized how complex and powerful the emotions within her were as she looked at Elon. The calm and peace in his eyes were so attractive that something inside her moved before words could even form. Unconsciously, she took a step toward Elon and her lips met his. In that moment, everything stopped. There were only the two of them. After a brief moment of surprise, Elon responded, as if the meaning of everything had become clear at that moment. Hannah couldn't resist in that instant. She felt the lost years, the emptiness, and the uncertainties within her come to an end. I want to leave my old life behind, she said, her voice shaky but determined. I know we don't know each other well, but I think I could settle here. The words came from an impulse inside her, such a sudden decision, but somehow the emptiness inside her was being filled here. Here by Elon's side in the town, life felt more meaningful. Elon paused for a few seconds in silence, But then he moved closer to her and kissed her again. This time Hannah felt it even deeper. "Do this," Elon said, his eyes filled with warmth and trust. "Stay here, you belong here." And in that moment, no matter how complex and difficult life was, Hannah felt peace by Elon's side. A new beginning, leaving her old life behind. Here in this town beside Elon, she believed anything was possible. In that moment, something inside Hannah clicked into place. No matter how successful she had been in the big city, she had just as deeply felt lost in emptiness. Elon's calmness had reminded her of the true meaning of life. Everything had passed so quickly, leaving her lost and exhausted. But now, in the town and in Elon's world, the meaning of life was slowly taking shape. On one side there was the town, and on the other, this life she was confronting with Elon's reality. It excited her. Slowly but steadily, her heart, in the midst of change, decided to take another step forward. One morning she turned to Elon, took a deep breath, and looking into his eyes she said, "I want to be here with you and with this town. I need to build my life differently." Her words carried a sense of truth and freedom. This wasn't a decision, it was the beginning of a journey. The peace inside her was settling with an awareness that grew every day. And in that moment, everything changed. Hannah made the decision to stay in the town. This choice offered her not only freedom from the outside world, the business world, and her wealth, but also a chance to escape the emptiness within herself. She became more connected to Elon and the town. She felt that her life would unfold in a different way than the noisy, meaningless hustle of the city. Returning to her old life was no longer an option, because here in this town beside Elon, she had found true peace. Sharing her life with Elon and embracing the simple but deep life of the town became a turning point for her. Now, everything had meaning, just being, breathing, and appreciating every moment. This was the essence of real life. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm always here with new and inspiring stories. Also, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support.